One of the things I mentioned last night in the Dhamma talk was sometimes our awareness of others and how we can get a bit blinded during retreat times, but this is in general just a normal thing, kind of. And interestingly enough, if we're not utilizing our practice well, then it can produce a self-centered way of working with our own minds, so that we're just not aware of kind of what we're doing, or we're not really aware of even sometimes like what might be an outlandish thought or something that we might like to have happen. I remember, I think it was at IMS, Insight Meditation Society, they were having a retreat, and it was a longer retreat, and the way that it works there with the retreat managers is that the people who are sitting in the retreat will write a retreat manager and request something or say something, whatever it is. They do it with notes. And so the retreat manager received a note one time that said, "Can you please contact the Boston airport and ask them to divert the planes overhead because they're flying too close to the retreat, and this is kind of disturbing my meditation. I think it's kind of a clear meditation." So there can be sometimes a sense of like a reality check that isn't quite there. So we hear that now, but then how, like something like that could be really very easily construed if we get obsessed with something. And I remember another retreat that I heard about. It was in a very hot place, and they had a lot of water, so they were spraying water on top of the roof of a meditation hall, and the hall was exposed on it. I don't think it had walls, so it was an outdoor hall with just a roof, very large. And so during the interviews, I guess the teacher would be interviewing some of the people who are sitting, and one would say, "Oh, this rain is just incredible. The water kind of coming on the roof, it's so ethereal, and it just like makes me meditate so well." And then another person would come in and be like, "What's the use of this? It's just so annoying hearing this rain all the time, and I can't take this anymore. I'm going to leave the retreat if you guys don't turn the water off." And another person comes in and says, "It's just such a waste of energy and water," and on it went. It was just like this material experience that people were having, whether they were hearing it or seeing it. It was just this outside disturbance. And so it's like for us, as I mentioned last night, it might be something like woodpeckers or another person or whatever it might be, but our minds will distract themselves based on these different things. This is just such a common feature. Often what's coming up for us are just our stories. Who and what I am, how I should be, what's going to happen in the next 2 weeks, what's going to happen in the next 2 months, 2 years, whatever. And some of us are more past focused and some of us are more future focused. But it's the rare person that's just focused on the present moment as their tendency of where they rest or where their mind goes to. So it's always kind of tempering like what it is that we're experiencing and kind of questioning ourselves, what's the reality of the situation. And with other people, oftentimes it can be we can have a critical nature. And so I feel very lucky that the Buddha many suttas, he really deals with that. In one sutta, he keeps repeating, do not disparage others and laud yourself. Do not look down upon others and build yourself up in terms of self-aggrandizing. So we have there was a funny photo going around where it looked like it was sometime in like the 16th century or something, and this fellow is looking down at maybe like the people from a balcony, and he just has this horrible sneer on his face. And then the title was, "What you feel like when you're not eating breakfast and others are." And that's the thing, is like we kind of take on something to better our practice, to renounce something. But then what we're also taking on is anger and aversion and blame, and with that particular renunciation. So it's so important to kind of measure that and see like, okay, what is this producing? That's interesting. Like I didn't realize that giving something up would cause me disdain. And then the opposite is, of course, true. We make up so many stories about people. So you see people practicing, and you think, oh, they're so, look at how diligent they are. They're just sitting, sit after sit, and I'm here just struggling. I can barely make it, and this person's always there. They're earlier than me. They stay later than me. And at the end of the retreat, we find out they were just going nuts the whole time, and it could have been a really difficult experience for them. But in our own minds, we had created them as the perfect practitioner. This was often a comical thing that happened on retreats in the world, where you go on retreat and then you have this whole idea of this other person. Sometimes it could be even like marrying the other person, or like, this is my future partner. You have no idea who they are. And you talk to them at the end of the retreat, you're like, wow, this is not who the person I thought was. Or we build up again like something in the opposite of just, as I was mentioning, this aversion, but it turns out the person is just a very sweet, kind person, and we don't know that. So often these things are coming up, and we're needing to take them in and question our assumptions, question our notions, question our thoughts, the worlds that we're creating, and try to put them down. Because when we come to a real understanding, we see this is all true anicca. We just don't know. It's all not sure. And so if we can bring that up over and over again, that will really help us in our practice. Just whatever it is we think, or our assumptions are, whatever it is we're coming to, we just keep coming up with this sense of not being sure, not knowing. Whether our practice is not feeling right at the time, or we're feeling quite happy, we just keep saying, it's not sure. It's not sure. But our awareness of these experiences, that's what we can trust. Our observation and seeing this very clearly, whatever it is we're seeing, this is where we can put our trust. This can be a source of refuge for us. Hey, well.